Hi everybody, my name is Justine and I'm the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Manager, and I'm here with Dave and Jess from the Wellbeing team, and we're here to talk about National Sleep Day and to give you some hints on tips on sleep hygiene. Dave, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, hi. My name's Dave Taylor, and I am one of the counsellors in the wellbeing team.
And Jess?
So my name's Jess. I'm one of the wellbeing advisors working alongside Dave.
Brilliant. So as I said, it's National Sleep Day, which is actually on the 19th of March. So for this month's topic, we're talking all about sleep. What you're going to talk about is why it's important to get good quality sleep. And it doesn't matter what you're doing in life, it's always essential to get sleep as part of our routine. And me and Dave were talking before we came onto the video about how bad my sleep is at the moment because I am menopausal. So I am listening with open ears to the hints that you've got. So Jess, would you like to start?
Yeah. I mean, I think we all know what it's like when we either can't sleep or, you just have a poor night and the next day can leave you feeling pretty rotten. I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
Getting decent sleep's obviously really important. I think especially in a university environment, there's a lot of people trying to concentrate and like get on with work and do things. I think there's been some studies that have shown that up to 60% of uni students say that their sleep isn't like great, which I think is pretty massive. That's a lot of people. Um, and having regular sleep and feeling like you have better quality sleep can actually improve like academic performance. It can help us with our memories. It can help with like retaining information, recalling it. It helps with our mood, which I think is also something that maybe the links sort of everyone's aware of, but maybe doesn't realize just how much like getting a good night's sleep can impact like how our body manages to cope with stress. Again, just some more stats to throw out there. But I think if you get less than 5 hours sleep in a night, then our baseline cortisol levels, which is like our stress hormone, can be up 50% higher than if we'd had like a good night's sleep. So we're already stressed before we've like even started the day at that point. And it's also really important for our physical health as well. So, I would say it's on par with like, physical exercise, your diet, all of that. So yeah, pretty important, I would say.
Absolutely. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with Jess. What I find when we meet students or when we talk to students at first is a large portion of them, whether they're coming in with personal reasons or whether they're coming in with academic stuff, sleep always is in there somewhere. When you talk about sleep, it's always, oh, my sleep's up and down, or my sleep's broken, or sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. And we need to be really proactive with sleep, because I think sleep can affect different people in different ways. A lot of people can survive on minimum sleep. I think didn't Margaret Thatcher say that she could sleep, she could do a full day's work on 4 hours sleep or something? Yeah, I'd like to see that one. But but sometimes it can affect people in different ways, and students, they're at the raw end of the deal when they've got all these worries and all these other thoughts coming in.
Brilliant. Thank you both. So I'm really interested to hear then what your top 10 tips are for better sleep. So Jess, are you going to start with your tips?
Yeah, I can do. So, I mean, the first tip, which I'll mention, just it's something else that I think people sometimes don't realize has a big impact, but trying to get some exercise in through the day can have a really good knock-on effect. It's helpful to not do it too close to bedtime, just because, if you go like sort of running around the block and then, you're trying to drop off 5 seconds later, it's probably not going to help that much. But, if it's just at some point through the day, an exercise can mean literally everything. So it's not just like, oh, you've got to go hard. You can literally just get like some walks through the day, maybe do a bit of yoga, sort of dancing around in your room, that sort of thing. So literally anything. I think another thing that can be quite helpful is to have quite a regular bedtime and sort of waking up time, and then try your very best to stick to them.
Right.
So if you know you've got to be up at say like 7 or 8 every morning, then working out how much sleep you need and then sort of counting back and trying to figure out what time you would need to go to sleep to ideally get, you know, your full sort of whatever it is that you need in 8 hours or so. And when our waking up and sleeping like times are quite irregular, it can actually like confuse our body a bit. Like our body's good at keeping itself in a rhythm. So it's not too sure when it's supposed to make us like feel tired and when it's supposed to make us feel more awake. So that can be really helpful, but obviously it takes a bit of time to get to that point, I would say. The next thing is probably for anyone who notices that they're struggling to sleep because they're dealing with a lot of like worry or stress or anxiety. So just another tip, there's an activity which we'll call like putting the day to rest, which is where you would take, you know, a 20-minute slot. You can set a timer on your phone or something, and basically you just sort of write down, like use a notebook, or you can go on like the notes on your phone and just write down what's happened in the day. So, you know, you're almost like you're putting that to rest. You're like, right, okay, this has happened, this has stressed us out, that was really annoying, but you know, I'm okay now. And also make a note of some of the things that you might be worried about coming up the next day. So, you know, it's try not to go too far into the future and think, oh, you know, what am I going to be doing in 5 years' time? But just like anything that you notice is playing on your mind. And then if there is anything you want to take action on, then obviously like scheduling that in. So it just means that when you do get to bed and you've got these thoughts that start popping up, like, oh, what about this? What about that? Then you can almost give yourself permission to switch off from it because it's like, look, I've dealt with it, or I'm going to deal with it in the future. So that's just another one. There's like an activity you can also send out. The other thing is just to sort of keep your sleeping area quite comfortable. So that's probably more of an obvious one, but again, like sometimes it's not ideal. Like, you know, you might have a partner that snores, or, you know, you've got like noise down the corridor or whatever. So, you know, given full permission to, like, you know, just be brutal, you know, if you're needing some more peace and quiet, you know, let someone know. Because even if you manage to get back on top of your sleeping pattern, then, you know, it can almost reset a bit and then keep going after that. Making sure that you've got like comfortable bedding and that sort of thing. It's a good temperature. And then the last thing is probably to set up what I would call like a relaxation station. Is something I was told about. So if you're struggling to get to sleep on a night time and you notice that you've been lying in bed for like 20 minutes, that's usually long enough that any longer you're going to struggle to switch off again. You know, it's normally a sign that your body's woken itself back up again. So our advice would be, like, if you've been lying in bed for 20 minutes and you can't sleep, just get up. And if you can set up one of these stations somewhere, you know, where you live, even if it's just in a corner and you've got some cushions, you've got a blanket, and sort of soft lighting, maybe some relaxation sort of like music, or any activities where you'd maybe want to do like mindful colouring or like reading something quite calming, just until you start to nod off again, and then you can get back to bed.
Okay.
But yeah.
Brilliant. I'm going to do that. That's one of the tips that I don't know about.
It's a really good one.
Yeah,
that's a really good one, Justine. To remove yourself away from the bed, because more often than not, we go to bed, can't sleep, and we lie there telling ourselves, we'll tell ourselves we can't sleep, we can't sleep, we can't sleep. And that's classic insomniac behavior, you know, where we're telling ourselves, oh, this is no good, we can't go to sleep. You know, there's some other great tips out there as well, you know. So the first one for me would be stimulants, you know, caffeine, fizzy drinks, and there are some cold and flu medicines that can act as a bit of a stimulant as well. You know, drinking coffee and tea before we go to bed is a fairly obvious one. You know, caffeine is a stimulant and it will keep us awake, you know. And really, the second one for me is associating the bed with just, you know, we only do two things in bed, and one of them is sleep, you know. So as long as we keep it so that we just have those two things in bed, we're only associating bed with either those two activities, you know, it's either sleep or sex, you know, and we're not mixing and sending a message to ourselves. We're not sitting on our bed with our meal or a drink of vodka or anything, or even studying on our bed. We've got to separate and keep that keep our brain sort of associated with sleep. The third one for me would be create that routine, you know, a bath, nice warm bath, because what a warm bath does is it drops the body temperature, which signals and tells the body to prepare for sleep. You know, try and limit social media and the news, because the news these days, especially now, can be quite toxic and frustrating. You know, especially if you're a worrier and an overthinker, which a lot of our students are, and a lot of people are. And you know, in these days, you know, we've got this pandemic going on. The last thing we want is to have any worries lingering around before we jump into bed. That'll only add to frustration, you know. And sometimes it can be the cause of unnecessary worry, you know. So so keep to low key activities, you know, reading a magazine. I think Jess spoke about no exercise, but you know, just doing things that really go with chilling out on a night. You know, maybe put your pajamas on, dim the lights, and don't put Rambo on the telly or anything explosive or anything like that. Start to think about this is your routine, you know. Number 4, alcohol. I mean, alcohol, you know, as students, everybody's been drunk. I can honestly say that I've never been drunk because I don't drink. However, we know that when you are drunk or when you've had alcohol, that you do kind of fall asleep, but you don't get that quality sleep that the body needs. So yes, you fall asleep and maybe you can't remember the night or whatever happens, but you don't get that quality sleep, and that's the stuff that leaves us refreshed and revitalized for the next day. Another good one is maybe, you know, depending on where you live, earplugs. You know, they're dead simple and really effective, especially if you live in halls where you can't account for where all the noise is coming from in the corridors, or people coming in late drunk, and put some earplugs in, you know, to get away from that distraction, you know. But my number one tip, and I love this one, is pay attention to your body. You know, pay attention to what your body is telling you. You know, if you are yawning on a night time, if you are tired, if there's that sudden drop in your energy levels, it's time to think about preparing for bed. So pay attention to what your body's telling you. That's my number one tip.
Brilliant. They're all great tips. Thank you very much. So is there anything else that you would like to share then, Jess, outside of those tips around good sleep?
Around good sleep. I think just if anyone's looking for some more help, we are actually running regular workshops like through the year on loads of different topics, but we do have one all about sleep at the moment, which is called like Call It a Night.
Brilliant.
Being held on Teams at the moment, but there's more information on the Wellbeing website if you want to have a look. There's one on the 3rd of March and the 5th of May.
Excellent. Thank you, Jess. What about you, David?
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate what Jess had said about the workshops. It's me that runs the workshop. I'm the one that delivers it. So we've done 2 so far, and they've been okay. You know, the feedback we've had's been good. It's about 90 minutes, and it's basically just going into a little bit more detail about what we've talked about today, about the tips, but it's a little bit more of why, you know, why this happens and why that happens. And the next one we've got is the 4th of March at 1 o'clock.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it's the 4th of March. And if anyone's interested, they just have to like get in touch with either myself or the wellbeing team and just let them know that they'd be interested in the workshop, and we can get your name booked on, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
And we'll put a variety of links in with the video so everybody knows how to get in touch, which is brilliant. Well, thank you all very much. I definitely have a couple of things that I'm going to pick up and use, and I shall update you. But the sort of that area away from bed, because I do lie in bed getting very frustrated with myself. And if I do get up, I go and eat something in the fridge. So maybe I need to have this zone that I go to. So I look forward to trying that out. Brilliant. I will.
Well, this is for everybody, isn't it? You know, Absolutely. Sleep is for everyone. It's not just for students, it's for everyone.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justine.
Take care.